live. Yep.
Okay, good. Hi. Hello, everyone. I'm Cintia. I'm from the Vrije Universiteit Brussel in Belgium, or VUB. I didn't have a lot of guidelines of what to my talk should be, so people said, you do whatever you want. I had some suggestions, though. So my idea was maybe it would be useful for you to know how the experience is to get into EasyBuild from someone really beginner, like very much from scratch, I would say. So that's why I'll talk a bit about my personal background and how I got into EasyBuild and what's easy in EasyBuild, what I found easy in EasyBuild, what I found challenging in EasyBuild. And then I will also talk about our cluster and how we work at the with EasyBuild. So first of all, so I'm Cintia and I'm really well in GitHub. So you might have seen my PRs and my bad PRs at the beginning. Sorry about that. Yeah. So I have a PhD in physics, and I did the kind of physics that didn't require almost any computers at all. It was really pen and paper calculations. So I didn't use the cluster in any way. Since June of last year, I am working at the HPC team at the VUB. So with Sam and Alex and Mart and maybe some other people that you know. So there I do user support. So on our tier 2 for academic users, and I also do user support for the tier 1 that is in Ghent, but only for the industry users. So as I said, so I studied physics, not the kind of physics that require an HPC at all. So really didn't know much. I didn't know about EasyBuild. I know very little about HPC, and even IT, I would say, quite new for me. Of course, I used Linux almost all my life because I have principles, but otherwise, yeah, I did some Python things, some Fortran things, but really, some physicists really like Fortran. I don't know why, but really code-wise, very basic. So not a lot of experience there. No formal programming or IT education, but I guess this is quite usual, maybe for some of you. And I had and still have, I think, very little knowledge about hardware in general. And there are so many things going on in clusters, and also it changes very fast. So it is really hard to catch up. But guessing someday I will get there, hopefully soon. So yeah, so that's my background. So I would say I learned EasyBuild pretty much from scratch. So maybe I should talk about what I found nice and easy about EasyBuild. So it was nice to have a starting point for me. So to know a bit of Python makes it a lot easier to understand what's going on. And even if then you move to, you see some R codes or some other languages, it's okay because I still had a base, so it's fine. It gives a starting point. It's really beneficial to get into EasyBuild. And one of the best things I think is that you can really get into EasyBuild very gradually. You can from the beginning to do the first thing, of course, that I did, and I think most people did, is just take maybe you get a ticket from someone that needs just a version update of something that already has an easy config. So it's really, most of the times, it's really easy to do that. So you just copy the easy config and you change the version, or you, I don't know, upgrade the tool chain. Some very easy things to do. But still, you're already contributing, or you feel like that. So it's really rewarding. If with very little knowledge, you already can do something and can create a PR. So that's really nice. And you don't need to know what's happening really in the background. It's just let the magic happen in the background, and it's okay. And then you get to know some options. You get to see, well, maybe for me, Python packages were more easier because I knew some Python, but see, it's okay to go to I don't know, R bundles or another language. I even did an OCaml PR, which was interesting. And then because of that, you need to start using different easy blocks. So you get, maybe you're curious to know what's going on there. So you go and see what the easy block looks like. Yeah, so yeah, and then you start to see some more complicated installations where you have to tweak a little bit more the easy config, and then you just start to patch, which I never did before. So that's about where I am. I'm here. I'm not quite sure what's going on, what's coming next. But I feel it's really rewarding because the learning curve is really steep. So it's you get some frustrations on the way, but it's quite rewarding as an experience until now, at least. We'll see. Another thing is that, as I told you, I don't have a lot of hardware knowledge, and you really don't need it at the beginning, at least, which is nice for me. So for now, I've been contributing to EasyBuild without a lot of knowledge about the hardware. So I'm getting there, as I said. And I think maybe the best point, the best advantage about EasyBuild is the community is really welcoming, as Adam said. I think, and you can really feel it as a beginner. So it's easy to ask questions. Of course, I have my colleagues too, but it's really nice to have the Slack channel. The documentation, the tutorial, I really use it a lot at the beginning. Documentation a bit less, because I feel like it's easier for me to go to the easy configs and really find out what's going on there. But I do use the documentation also a lot. And I really like the concept of HPC social, and that we don't rely on usual, normal, mainstream social networks. That's really nice, because I don't have any of that. So I think, yeah, the strongest point for a beginner is the community, I think. It's really nice. So because I'm talking about the positive points, I had to find the negative points. I struggled a bit. So the first point, I think, is not about EasyBuild. It's about how different the installations can be and how confusing it can be for a beginner to know like all the steps in installation, and running into maybe creative developers that want to do it some different way. Yeah, of course, different languages. And also the fact that practices changes over time, so that also complicates things, because if you're installing something that is a bit old, maybe they did different things back then, so it gets confusing, I would say, but it's okay. And then the second point I found is actually about EasyBuild, but I think it's I don't know if there's a solution for this, but I think it's at least for a beginner, it's hard to know what's standard or good practices in some cases. Of course, there's a lot of tools there available. So there's the guidelines, the code style, this check country that will tell you what's a lot of things that could be wrong on your easy config. There's the unit tests, but sometimes I find myself thinking, should this have a suffix or not? Because this is an R package, so should I put the R version or not? But I guess that's hard to know, because this also changes over time. So you used to have the Python version, now you don't have it anymore. So, and also I run into this kind of questions if I'm writing an easy config like a Python bundle, and I need to add an extension, and that extension needs 3 more extensions. Should I write a separate easy config or not? And I think the answer to that is it depends. But as a beginner, and it depends on in a lot of things, but as a beginner, it's hard to get that answer. So it would be easier to have like if I don't know, a guideline. If it's this is going to be used separately, so do an easy config, different easy config. If this is small, but I don't know how you would define small, so don't do it. I don't know. Because when you go in upstream, you can see both things going on. So that's kind of hard as a beginner. But in general, I would say it's quite easy to get into EasyBuild, and it's quite useful. And of course, we use it all the time in our cluster at the VUB in Brussels. So to go a bit about that, about our cluster, where we use EasyBuild to install to do software installations. So this is what it looks like, more or less. So I will not talk a lot about the hardware because you will know way more than I do. But what's important is that it's a heterogeneous cluster, so we have lots of different mixtures there, different architectures, and yeah, in different interconnects. And we have so GPU nodes and CPU only nodes. And we recently got new Zen 4 new nodes that we will put into a different partition. So we're quite happy about that. They're very fast. So yeah, so that's about hardware. So the way we do installations in Hydra, so in our cluster, so we have like this kind of steps that we follow when we install things. So of course, well, I would say the step 0 is we get a request of someone that wants an installation. So that's step 0. We go to the repo and see if the easy config is somewhere. So if we don't find it, we write an easy config, and we test it locally, of course. And then we create a PR. So that's a PR in the EasyBuilder repo. And after that, we create a commit in our own repo, which is a branch of the VSC software stack. And there we put the number of the PR that is in EasyBuilders as a comment as a commit. And then we install it in our cluster. And for that, we have an installation script that was written by Ward, Alex, and Sam. And it's really easy to use. These are the options that you can use, but most of the time, I don't even use the options. And it will install in every partition we have. But well, if it's on a GPU only software, then you have to indicate this is going to be only GPU, or you can put extra flags like EasyBuild flags. But it's really easy to use, and this will install in all our cluster with that easy config. And once the easy config or whatever we have in our PR that we created at EasyBuilders is merged, then we will get reverted. So we don't have it in our branch as well as in the EasyBuilders repo. So our branch is kind of clean. Yeah, so we don't have twice the same easy config. So that's about what I had to say. I'm happy and was quicker than what I thought it would be. I have just the conclusions here. So I would say conclusions. Honestly, yes, EasyBuild is easy, even for people that are very beginner in the sense I really started from scratch, so it's really nice. And the steep learning curve is. It's nice to have also to keep you motivated, because if it's very frustrating from the beginning, that's gonna stop. I think it's gonna stop people from continuing to get it into EasyBuild. Yeah, and the community is really nice, as Adam was talking about. I think that is probably a strong point. And it's definitely good for beginners to feel welcomed. And on top of that, well, we do use it in our cluster, so it's very useful. So yeah, hopefully I will be able to contribute more to EasyBuild, but not too much because you don't want PRs now. I don't know. So, but better PRs, which is, I think it's more important. So yeah, thank you. I
All
don't know
right,
if you
thank
had
you.
questions.
I have a quick question. In terms of contributing, are there things now that we maybe as maintainers got very used to, but which are challenging or that may even put people off from contributing? That they say, oh boy, if I have to go through this extra work or again and again, then I'm just not going to bother.
Well, it didn't happen to me that I got like it's not in my experience, I would say. Every time I got some comment in a PR, I thought it was a good thing, and I learned of it from it. So yeah, no, I won't say that.
But I do think many maintainers try to keep an eye out for new contributors, and then maybe spend a bit more time in not only suggesting changes, but also explaining why we would like to see that changed.
I think that's my experience.
All right, good.
So, and that's also like the part of the EasyBuild community I'm talking about. It does also feel welcoming to create PRs.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
You said very steep learning curve. Did you mean fast learning curve? Because to me, steep is difficult.
Oh, no, yes, maybe. Oh, yeah. I meant, yeah, I see what you mean. Sorry. Yes, I meant I feel like I advance very fast.
Well, it can be steep in the other direction. It can be going downhill.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
loose.
Yeah.
I was thinking of a plot, and so it's
Yeah. You meant steep in the other. Right? That's good. That's fine. All right. Any other questions for Cintia? Yeah, Adam.
Yeah, I think the stuff you were mentioning about suffixes and things like that, where it's not really clear. I mean, to be honest, some of the time it's not clear to me either. So I think it would be good for you to raise an issue so that we try and at least improve the documentation.
Okay.
Because you're still quite fresh, so you can probably describe it better than we can.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
So that's very much one I want to add to the policies page along with side the tool chain is when we're using suffixes and why. Because the honest answer in Vrije is we seem to be using them because we haven't taken them out. Whereas we've actively done it for Python at the point where we said Python 2 installs were the exception, so Python 3 will just be the default. And that was really obvious, but Vrije, there's never been a large driver to get rid of them. So unless we actively make it happen, it won't happen. And that probably would at some point involve rebuilding some of the nice smaller easy configs. Because you'd end up rebuilding bioconductor.
Yeah,
we're
probably a bit inconsistent. And I guess what we could do, starting with the new toolchain that's coming up, 24A, we could try and make sure we get that right. Either just kick out the suffix or,
Yes, and I think that's also combined with I only want 1R version. And at times we've had multiple.
maybe that's why we're keeping it.
But and I'm now jumping into what I'm suggesting rather than what I'm saying is going to happen is I think the upstream repository, central repository will have one main version, and that will be the one that, and then anything separate gets the suffix, which I think what we intend to do, but we've possibly not been consistent.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it would be great if you could just open an issue that says this seems to be the policy and it should be documented somewhere.
Okay.
Like, or maybe even a pull request to the documentation to do that. Yeah,
Okay.
that would be great. And then we can just iterate over that a bit until we, and maybe that will even raise points where we need to make it clear what the policy actually is, because maybe we don't fully agree on some stuff. Yeah.
I can quite believe we won't agree. Some of it is what I would like to happen, and some of it is what I think is happening, and some of it will be things I haven't even thought about.
Yeah. All right. No, very cool. Thank you, Cynthia.